So in this video I want to talk about not only why music and metal and playing guitar after all these years is so important, but how it's been kind of a thing of stability for me for a very long time. And the easiest way I can just put it out there is by saying that I've been in recovery from drugs and alcohol since February 25th, 2016. And I can just easily say that, my life is amazing now. And I've been listening to music, definitely a lot of heavy stuff, since way before that, before I ever did any drugs, and then now after. And I guess what I want to share is not to shove anything down anyone's throat, but just how being clean and just not being under the influence of anything, being in control of my body and my life has just made everything so much better. I don't consider myself straight edge or anything, and I don't care if people drink or smoke. I definitely see that from time to time in life, and it doesn't bother me. I would say I'm concerned with anyone who does any type of hardcore drugs that are just really bad for your health or just prone to addiction. I'm concerned for anyone. I want everyone to be healthy and to be in control of their life and to live a healthy life. But yeah, I guess easiest way I can put it out there is that I got really bad on opiates and then other stuff mixed in there, but the worst of it all, I was addicted to heroin and fentanyl and just a lot of the strong prescription painkillers. And if you've ever met anyone that's had a drug problem with that kind of particular substance, it can start quickly and just spiral out of control, and that's really what it did for me. And I don't try to dwell on what using drugs was like. I don't want to come make this a video about how bad it is and all the crap I've been through or anything like that. Just that it was bad enough for a while, and I gladly share any of that to anyone that does want to know, if that helps them. But the main thing is, it was rough for 3 years straight. It was just absolute hell of wanting to stop, getting the next fix, but feeling like I couldn't, spending every penny that I had on it and blowing through all my savings, blowing through every paycheck as soon as it's deposited every Friday morning. Really just feeling like a piece of crap, hating my life, not feeling like I had any purpose. And this all crap all hit the fan when I was 20, 21, and 22. And 22, I got in trouble with it, and that was the first thing that definitely got me to take a look, actually seriously. I'd wanted to stop for a long time, but what actually got the wheels turning was to be in a little bit of legal trouble. And to fast forward, no need to go down that tangent in this video, but I don't have anything on the record now. I worked my ass off in a legal program that was called drug court. They have them all across the United States. I think they call it recovery court now. But I busted my hump for 3.5 years, and the beginning of it, the first 3 to 4 months, were truly I would consider boot camp. And having my rights stripped from me, and having people that just helped destroy me and rebuild me, counselors and probation officers and judges and police officers, and I just thank all of them from the bottom of my heart. And that, all of those people that helped me, they know how I feel. I told them how much they meant to me, and just kind of losing my train of thought. it's pretty much the greatest thing that ever could have happened to me was, getting put in those handcuffs, being pulled out of my job and taken downtown, as they say. And it didn't stop for a while in between getting arrested and starting that program. I just kept using, and it was horrible. I was just selling plasma out of my arm to get $20, $30, $40 to get a bump that I could snort up my nose. That's how I was living for a while. And like so many people say, I think it's a lot more common knowledge now, but I'm middle class. I was late teenager, young adult. In case you're blind, I'm a white boy. Come from the middle class, and it's just like, that's a prime candidate, just like anybody else, for substance abuse. And I'm just glad I got lucky. I've known a lot of people that have died. I've been to some funerals and some memorials of young people. And I've also just had people, one of the things I struggle with today is I got a really close friend of mine that, I don't think anyone knows where he is. And it's been like, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 years probably since anyone talked to him. And it hurts, He knows that I'm doing well, but he's just not ready. And there's nothing I can do about that. But it's just a constant reminder that, it's really hard out there. I came from a good family, and I went to college, and I grew up with this and that, and just kind of letting it be known that it can happen to anyone. The big thing about that drug court program, though, is I couldn't talk enough about it. But one of the biggest things is, quashing the victim mentality, is because I don't consider myself a victim, and I busted my hump pretty hard to, look at some of the bad choices I made and truly just a flawed moral compass, compromising my morals, what I had to do to get high, or not really getting high though. It's just to get off E, as I've heard say a lot. I guess more though about how this has to do with, metal and guitar is, I stopped playing guitar towards the end of my most brutal part of my active addiction, and I just remember getting high one day. I had some good stuff or whatever, and I consumed it, and I just remember plugging in the guitar and saying, I don't have to be at work today, and everything should have just been what I wanted. I'm feeling good. I can just stand here and play, but I just look back on that, and man, I was just so empty inside. I thought that's what I wanted, and I just remember holding that guitar and being like, this sucks. I don't feel like playing. I wish I did. I've got my fingers on the frets, and I just don't want to do it, and numb and devoid of life. It wasn't a significant day back then, but it really, I look back on that day, I was like, I wanted out. I was like, I was done. But unfortunately, I didn't stop, and that's why they call it addiction. So I knew I didn't want to be a slave to drugs anymore, but that alone wasn't going to get me to do it. So fast forward though to getting clean, and during that last few months before I got myself together, in those first few months of just agonizing withdrawal, I was on house arrest, and couldn't leave, couldn't do anything. I could go to a few support groups and meetings. I had to take mandatory drug tests. I did all that, but other than that, it was just lay there and hate myself and think about how much I really screwed up my life and how it wasn't going to get better. That's what I thought back then. And that also, I couldn't do anything. I didn't want to do it. I felt this overwhelming sense of apathy and self-hatred. And, I just remember trying to pick up that guitar, and I couldn't even, I didn't have the energy to tune it. I didn't have the energy to, I didn't have the will to plug it in and play a few chords. Depression was just at an all-time high then. And you know, it's like if you've ever met anyone that's on any type of journey like this, it's like I couldn't tell you what day it was, but after a few months of being clean and I got a decent job and I'd stay there for 3 years, I started playing guitar again. You know, I got myself a nice distortion pedal because of that job. I could afford something for myself, if you can imagine that. And that's when I bought the MXR full-bore metal pedal, and my tone sounded better than I ever thought it would. And I'd be like, I don't know, it was that. And then I just, you know, started playing some stuff like Nile and a few other songs that it was just like, I was just rejuvenated. You know, I couldn't tell you this wasn't a simple thing. This isn't anything I'm going to be able to accurately explain in one video. It will never be as easy as, oh, I put down the drugs and I did some soul searching and everything's great now. You know, that's not how it's going to be. Not for anyone who gets off drugs and changes their life. If you really struggled with it, if you really hit rock bottom, like I know I did. But I guess if there's one thing that can be taken out of this, is that there absolutely is hope. It's like the statistics are hard, you know, facts. Drugs are very addictive like that, and it's going to take a complete, I mean, like I say, just destruction and rebuilding of one's foundation at the very most basic level, and a true desire to want to change oneself and to try and be a better person. Not that people who use drugs, not that I was a bad person, but again, you know, I had some work to do. I guess more to the point though, it's like, you know, playing guitar, aside from that one period of time where I stopped, it has been kind of one of the only constants. When I am feeling crazy, you know, I get real fidgety. I count shit, and I'm always checking my phone over and over and over again. I hate it. You know, I got the OCD tics. You know, I gotta pick stuff up and put it back down, and it's just like, you know, I'm not afraid to admit that. But that's kind of the stuff I was always trying to silence, and of course there's more to it than that. But you know, now best fidget I can do is pick, even if I'm just running through some scale, like just keep doing it. And I don't know, it just wound, it's one of the best outlets ever. That has a lot to do with keeping me clean. I think also listening to metal. I just love metal, you know? I think a lot of people feel that way. It's not about, there's all sorts of different genres of music, and a lot of people like it. It's just something about metal you usually find, like, we tend to be extreme. It's like, yeah, I kind of like metal. Like, no, I really, really love metal. And, you know, sometimes I really need something brutal and technical and intense to silence what's going on in here. And it's not that I'm trying to run away. That actually helps me work through some of the crazy stuff. You know, I just got done jogging. You know, I'm not by any means a fast runner or really strong in that way, but like, it's stuff like that, and really involved mental and physical exercises are just, I believe, what's helping me maintain a healthy lifestyle, devoid of drugs and not wanting to do that anymore. And not even just, you know, brutal technical metal. It's like I like really melodic stuff. I like clean vocals too. I like stuff that's more just like a minor key. It's got a really almost kind of pretty or melancholic, guitar lead to it that kind of gives you the goosebumps, not in a brutal way, but in more of like a, hey, if you know, you know. It's metal is multi-layered, all the different subgenres. It's what I like, and the intensity, fast double bass, screaming vocals. It's just, I just don't think I would have made it this far without metal. That's the best way I can put it. And to be able to play guitar just helps me feel like I'm a part of it. I make my own metal, and the videos I do is just hopefully seen as showing some appreciation to the bands that have kept me going. And really, hopefully there's a guitarist or two out there who watches a video and says, man, if he can do it, I can too. As cliche as that is, it's like, you can do anything you want to do. And please take that from me. At the time of this video, I got 9.5 years clean and sober from drugs and alcohol. And, you can do anything you want. My phone cut me off there. Anyway, that's what happens when you talk forever. So, backtracking, you got a broken young man that isn't sure if he wants to live and is actually close to himself. And I guess that's more for another video, but I'm alive today and I love being alive. What my recovery has given me is a newfound love and appreciation for music that I've always loved. I have a wife that I met in recovery, and we've been together for so many years now, and we're actually just having a getaway weekend here right now. And this is just time I'm using to reflect on how great it is. You really can do whatever you want in your life. It's never too late to turn yourself around from a life of addiction and enslavement to drugs, mind-altering substances. It's no way to live, in my opinion. And I've got a job where I'm in the water working with a lot of kids and youth, and it is just very fulfilling. This is the best way I can put it. If you got any questions about this, any of this, there's really no question that's too personal for me. Drop a comment. I'd love to, pick my brain all you want, and I hope anyone that needs to hear this gets to hear it. Last thing I'll say is, I believe that there's some higher power out there. That's what really goes through to me. It's I feel like a bit of an oddball because one thing that I've struggled with for many years is that I was born and raised Christian, and I don't identify with that. I have no problem. I won't say I don't like it when people shove it down my throat. If that's what you want to do, I think everyone should believe in whatever they want to. So that's kind of what I've been working with for these last few years, is trying to figure out more about that. Yeah, whatever spirit of the universe, higher power, God, deity that you believe in, may they give you all the strength you need to do what it is you want with this life. I'm Nick, and thank you so much just for joining me with this today, and I look forward to hearing from you.